President Trump holds an emergency White House national address to walk back Secretary of State Marco Rubio's statement to the press that it was Israel who was the imminent threat that forced the U.S. to join their attack on Iran.
And was there an imminent threat? Did you tell lawmakers that there was an imminent
There
threat?
absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths.
Oh, goody, I get to open my Happy Meal. Mr. President, Prime Minister Netanyahu on your cell phone. Hello, your Zionists. Your Highness. No, little Marco does not need to be fired, at least not just yet. Didn't you see any of my episodes of The Apprentice? I'm not ready to throw him under the bus just yet. Why? Well, because I might have to do that on my next invasion when we invade Cuba. I'm going to let little Marco take most of the blame for that one. What's that? No, like I said, little Marco does not need to be fired for saying that Israel was the imminent threat and that you guys forced us into the war. All right? Listen, I know what I have to do to spin this to the press, so just leave it to me. I'm going to tell them that it was just the fog of war, the fog of war. Little Marco got caught up in all of that hazy fog of the epic fury. He just got confused. And he misread your Hebrew script you gave us. How about next time you give us a script in English? No, I told you I'm not going to fire little Marco, and you better stop threatening me, Bibi. You better stop threatening to release those Epstein secret videos you have, or you know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to tell the world? That's right, I'm going to tell everybody the entire Bible is nothing but a made-up lie by you Jews and the Vatican. And what do you think that's going to do to your whole "we are the chosen people, greater Israel" agenda? Dead on arrival, that's right. Especially when after that I announce to the world that UFOs and aliens are real. And I bring 3 different alien species right here into the Oval Office for a Big Mac McDonald's lunch. Mr. President, we're live to the nation in 30. Okay, thank you. Listen, Bibi, I got to run. I go live in 30. You better chill out with the blackmail threats and let me do what I do best. Yeah, hail Zion, whatever. We now interrupt our regularly scheduled programming and take you live to the White House for a special emergency presidential address. Mr. President, we go live in 5. Thank you. My fellow Americans, there seems to be a little bit of confusion over why I launched Operation Epic Fury. And I just wanted to come on tonight because the fake news has been, screaming and hollering about me not giving any good reasons why. So I wanted to come on tonight and clear up the confusion. Please forgive any interruption of your favorite programming, unless, of course, I'm interrupting Bill Maher. All right? Nothing but a failed comedian with clear Trump derangement syndrome. If you're a Bill Maher fan, you're not missing anything anyway. But I just wanted to come on tonight and speak to the American people and clear up the confusion, because it really is understandable. It may seem like very contradictory reasons that I've given, but it's understandable because of a phenomenon known during battle of something that's called the fog of war. So I just wanted to come on tonight and explain to the American people why each of our official reasons for invading Iran may have seemed contradictory. There's a reason why. It's a common phenomenon that happens during battle. It's called the fog of war. And the fog of war is just unavoidable in such military operations like this. Trust me, believe me, and everyone knows that if you've ever watched the movie Apocalypse Now. A lot of fog in that movie. That I can tell you. Very foggy movie. And look what happened to Marlon Brando's character at the end. Very sad. Very delusional. So just like Brando's delusional character, when little Marco said what he did, that Israel was the imminent threat, and that they told us they were going to attack anyway, and it forced our hand, and I can't believe he said that on camera, but when little Marco did that, that was just him getting caught up in the fog of war and being dazed and confused. And if anything, trust me, believe me, I can tell you that in all of that foggy haze, it was probably me who forced Israel's hand and made them feel like they had to attack along with us. To be honest with you, it was probably me. And since I made that decision, we have decimated Iran's military.
Mr. President, the U.S. consulate in Saudi Arabia was just blown up by an Iranian drone.
That was probably Israel. Trust me, believe me, probably Israel. Anyway, as I was saying, our mighty military has totally decimated Iran's military.
Mr. President, 5 of our critical billion-dollar radar tracking stations in Iraq have just been destroyed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Caroline. As I was saying, our mighty military has completely annihilated Iran's military. Now they have no choice but to completely surrender all of their oil to us and allow me and my Chevron and Mobil and Exxon donors to select their next supreme leader like I did in Venezuela.
Mr. President, one of our military bases in Kuwait just took 2 direct hits by Iranian missiles with reports of serious casualties.
Okay, Carolyn, can you give it a rest, okay? Can you go, I don't know, make a pot of coffee or something? Thank you. You see what I mean? The fog of war has affected even little Caroline Levitt. It's not just Marco. She's delirious, dazed and confused too. And with that, I will go ahead and take a few of your questions.
Mr. President, what
Go ahead, Peter Ducey.
Mr. President, Peter Ducey, Fox News. After your bombing of Iran last year, you have consistently told the world that you utterly destroyed Iran's nuclear facilities. Yet, the initial reason you gave for why you attacked Iran this time was because they were 1 week away from having a nuke. So my 2-part question is, how can both statements be true? And how can it be the fog of war when you made that claim for an entire month before launching this war?
But obviously, that was the fog of pre-war. Anyone with any military background and experience would know that. It doesn't just get foggy during war. Oftentimes it gets even more foggy in the month leading up to war. The fog of pre-war.
Sir, just one follow-up. Isn't it true you managed to get a deferment from going to Vietnam and no one in your family's history has ever served in the military?
Okay. No more questions from fake news Ducey. Who's next?
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
Mary Bruce, ABC News. So after Secretary Rubio said Israel was going to attack Iran before us, you are now saying that you were going to attack Iran before Israel. Can you tell us, is that your final answer, or will you need to use a lifeline and maybe call a friend?
Are you trying to be a comedian or a journalist? Because either way, like Bill Maher, you're an epic failure at both. Who are you with?
ABC News.
Fake news. And, I just have to say, you're a disgusting person, okay? You're a horrible reporter, too. All right? I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I don't think I've ever seen you wear a short skirt and heels. Why don't you wear a miniskirt for me? I'll tell you what, I'll answer your stupid question if you'll do one thing for me. Take your tongue and wipe it around your lips and make them real wet like this. And call me Daddy Donald. But you won't do that, will you? Because you're a horrible excuse for a woman. Next question.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
Babu, Marrakesh, Politico. Mr. President, just curious, has your official narrative changed in the last 5 minutes since your answer to Fox News' Peter Ducey about why the U.S. attacked Iran?
Wow. That's a great question. Who are you with?
Politico.
Well, I'm really impressed, Pinocchio, because you clearly understand politics and the way the fog of war works. Because yes, as it turns out, since I answered Peter's question, what was it, like 5 minutes ago, my answer is going to have to change, because the answer I gave, that it was me who was going to bomb Iran first, turns out that's not looking very good in the polls. Turns out it's looking like that's going to probably get me impeached. But see, this is a perfect example of how hard it is to find the right answers in the middle of the fog of war. Who knows, maybe I'll turn out to be as delirious as Marlon Brando at the end of Apocalypse Now. What do you think of that, Peter?
Well, I think that's exactly the horror that most of the world is afraid of right now.
You know what? I just have to say, Peter, you're a horrible person, too. You're a horrible reporter, too. You're as horrible of a reporter as Bill Maher is a comedian. Anyway, back to Pinocchio's very astute question.
That's political?
Whatever. Nobody cares. It should be Pinocchio, because your huge nose does look like it's getting longer every second. But back to your very good question. Yes, in fact, my official narrative has changed since I answered Peter's question. My new official narrative for Operation Epstein Fantasy, Epic Fury, is that me and Netanyahu did a 10-second countdown, and we launched the attacks at the very same moment. So now that I've cleared that up, I'm going to clear something else up. I'm going to unclassify now something that's been highly classified, and this is the real reason why the U.S. and Israel had to attack Iran. I'm going to declassify it for the world right now. The reason why we had to attack Iran when we did was because if we didn't, they were going to nuke and invade Greenland. That's right. That's why I've always said the United States has to have Greenland and Canada, because if we don't take them, Iran will. No further questions.
Mr. President-elect. Mr. President-elect.
We have the wrong leaders, like I've told you before, and we've been lied to by the fraudulent institutions we were taught that we had to trust. I can't stress that enough. And as a direct result of those institutional lies and the shills serving the billionaire elite class I was just talking about, who we have for world leaders, both in the church and in politics. You got to remember that, okay? Both these corrupt individuals, they're partners, okay? I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but you never have an organized religion that's weaponized, that's not tied right in with a government, okay? They work hand in hand together. And because of this elite class we have for world leaders both in the church and in politics, humanity is facing an existential emergency right now more than ever. The reason for this worldwide emergency is largely due to how our artificial intelligence technological development has exponentially outpaced our proper spiritual development. I feel the need to repeat that one more time to make sure it sinks in, that last sentence. Our artificial intelligence technological development is exponentially outpacing. It has outpaced our proper spiritual development. And that is the reason why this threat is happening. Because if we knew who we were, if we understood true spirituality, true spiritual truth that I cover in my books, if we understood that, we wouldn't be doing this. We were meant to be universal, loving healers, not exclusive religious dividers. And that's what this book is all about. The Bible is all about division. Matthew 10:34, Jesus said, "You think I came to bring peace? No, I came to bring a sword." You haven't, so many of you who call yourself Christians haven't read your Bible. Jesus over and over and over again saying how he's going to come back with his angels in the end times and commit genocide of all non-believers. Does that sound like love to you? We're going to get more into that in a minute. But I'm telling you, we were not, this is all man-made horse shit that you've been programmed with
like me, from a child program. Thank God I was saved from these lies. And we can't tolerate these lies anymore because they are what have blinded us to real spiritual truth that I show you in my books so that we can bring healing to this place. So you guys got to get behind me with this ministry. There's nothing more important than what I'm talking about here on the Connie Bryan Show. Nothing. And I struggle to get you guys to, be the wind beneath my wings and help me share the show. Go and find my content and say, screw you to YouTube, and I'm sharing the show. Share the shit out of it. Like the shit out of it. Subscribe so we can fight back because they're trying to keep my show from being found. It's ridiculous. Even Twitter is doing that. Elon Musk, I should tell you about that maybe in the next episode. How when I posted this up on Substack, I put up a Twitter about this article. I made an article, so this show is based on that article. And I put it up on Twitter, and he wouldn't let it have any impressions. It got 0, not even 10 on Twitter. They made sure to block it, so nobody saw it. That's what I'm dealing with. That's why I need you guys to step it up and help me be found more. Now, so to understand Revelation, you first have to understand, it's really not complicated. The Roman Catholic Church, the bishops who were responsible for bringing us that final book of the New Testament, they created a fictional, straw man, evil villain. They called who? Who did they call? What did they call him? The Antichrist. Completely made up what we call a straw man. Completely fictional. And then they proceeded to write a fear-mongering, end-times predicting book. Because like I told you earlier, all of this is, these weaponized religions are all based on fear and guilt, manipulating you with fear and guilt. To think of God as something that God is not. Someone who's going to condemn you, etc. To think of yourself as so evil by nature when you're not. You're holy by nature. But they want to beat you down and make you so guilt-ridden that you'll, okay, this is the only way I can be saved, which is complete horseshit. So they created this Antichrist in the book of Revelations, complete straw man, and proceeded to write, like I said, a fear-mongering, end-times predicting book that was, this is why I say what is up is down. It was a mirror image. It was the complete opposite. It was all really their plans to do what they were claiming that the Antichrist is going to come in the end times and do. Okay? So it's basically, it's complete what we call misdirection, which is a key element of PSYOP's propaganda. They forced these 6 superstitious beliefs on the masses, which has continued to this day, keeping them fooled into thinking someone other than the imperialist who gave them the Bible would be the evil satanic force seeking world domination and the destruction of most of humanity. That's what they claim in the book of Revelation, that the Antichrist will be responsible, for killing so many people who don't worship the Antichrist. Follow me here. This is what I meant by what is up is down and what is down is up with Revelation. So they create this straw man, evil straw man, fictional, when in truth, the agenda that they claim was the Antichrist was core to those who concocted the book of Revelations, Rome, at the time. They were the ones who really, their agenda was complete world domination, and of course we've seen in their legacy how they acted out, the killing of those who wouldn't worship the way they demanded, with the Spanish Inquisition and all of that. Like I mentioned earlier, that legacy of Christianity and Judaism, of their genocide in the name of God. Same with Islam. Okay, so you see that imperial, very
same thing that they try to claim the Antichrist, this fake fictional character is going to come into, really was what they ultimately knew was their agenda in whenever the end times, which probably would, of course, would never be end times, but they wanted to scare people with that. That's going to happen in the end times. But they were really planning, ultimately, when we galvanize complete domination of the planet, we'll do so by doing the very kinds of things that we're claiming the Antichrist is going to do. And that's the threat of artificial intelligence, folks. That's why I'm talking about all this, is because we're seeing this desire to bring this oppressive artificial intelligence at all costs into reality that is not to empower humans, but to oppress us with a dystopian panopticon surveillance system of total control and censorship. We're already seeing, the early signs of that censorship, like I've been telling you, that's happened to me and so many others. So I just want you to realize they're getting close to, they think, the end of their plan to accomplish complete totalitarian corporate control. And it's not going to be the Antichrist like Christians think. It's going to be the Epstein class if we, the people, don't wake up and stand up to it.
This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
It seems very clear to me that a number of people deeply involved in artificial intelligence see it as a kind of mechanism for transhumanism, for transcendence of our mortal flesh, and either some kind of creation of a successor species or some kind of merger of mind and machine. And do you think that's just all kind of irrelevant fantasy? Or do you think it's just hype? Do you think people are trying to raise money by pretending that we're going to build a machine god, right? Is it hype? Is it delusion? Is it something you worry about? I think you would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
in
in
this.
this.
Should the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would I also would like us to radically solve these problems.
Right.
And so it's always, I don't know, transhumanism is this. The ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body.
Connie Bryan Show. Embattled censored, suppressed, held back because the powers that be know that I'm always bringing you the information they don't want you to hear. And I just want to start by saying thank you to those of you who have been supporting me. Okay, like we talked about last week, our last episode, I need your support regarding my books. That's the biggest way you can support me, and we do need some more reviews on Amazon. That helps people find my content. So thank you so much to those of you who have stepped up and are helping me with that. You wouldn't believe the resistance that I am running into from people, even people that I never would think I would have an issue from, that I thought would have my back, you know. But they're so caught up in the lies they've been conditioned with, you know, that when they hear these things that I'm teaching, they turn on me. And it's just so sad, because it's, like I said, oftentimes people that I thought would always have my back. And that's not to mention all those who are in control of the mainstream media and, of course, the mainstream video streaming platforms that are completely controlled by the powers that be and are shadow banning my content. So I just want to say thank you to those of you who have stepped up, are stepping up, and supporting me. Thank you so much for that. And I can only ask that more of you will do the same and help me in this ministry of getting the information out that people need to bring healing to humanity, that we're long overdue to create on this planet together. You know, awakening to the lies that we've been conditioned with, that I cover in detail in my books. And by the way, so this is going to be part 2 of my new series, Game of Drones, Palantir is coming, and I'm going to be getting into a chapter of my book Change, just to give you an example of the powerful content in Change that you can't afford not to be aware of. Okay, so it's probably going to be around part 3. Chances are we'll get a chance to get into that chapter where I talk quite a bit about the threat of artificial intelligence. You can always catch my content on demand at ConnieBryan.com. And so don't worry if you haven't seen part 1 of this series yet. It's okay to watch them out of order. And I also want to remind you to go out of your way to go to rumble.com and to YouTube and find my content, please, because they're making it hard for it to be found with the algorithm. That's what I mean by shadow banning. They're making it really hard unless people actually go and look for my show for it to show up in search. So if you would go out of your way and find the show and share it and like it, it helps a lot to help it be found more in search. Okay, that said, in part 1, I left off talking to you about how the powers that be, the Roman Empire who concocted the Bible, they forced those 6 superstitious beliefs on the masses, continuing to this day, keeping them fooled into thinking someone other than the imperialists who gave them the Bible, Rome, would be the evil and satanic force. Some concocted, straw man that I told you about, the Antichrist, Satan and all, is going to be the problem. To create world domination, when in truth, that agenda remains core to this day to those who concocted the book of Revelation, with the Epstein-class billionaire descendants of those Roman imperialist elites still just as devoted to that plan to this very day. Now, a perfect metaphor of our present emergency is that humanity is like the Titanic, trying to barge full steam ahead through a minefield of icebergs with the captain and his crew fully aware, but following corporate orders to proceed, believing the propaganda that they were given by those corporate overlords that the Titanic is unsinkable, because that's what they said back when the Titanic was making its maiden voyage. the people, the corporate overlords, who were responsible for building the Titanic and all, were selling that to the public, wanting them to come and buy tickets on it, saying it's unsinkable. This, while all the passengers, meaning humanity in my metaphor here, on the Titanic, my metaphor, all the passengers, meaning humanity, are clueless as they entertain themselves in total apathy and ignorance to the deadly imminent threat to their lives. To continue with this metaphor, yours truly is one of only a handful on board the Titanic who are trying to warn and wake up the captain and the passengers to this impending deadly disaster. Now, on the Titanic, the distracting entertainment was much more limited. But today, and by deliberate design, I would add, everyone has become not just distracted, but utterly addicted to social media, pornography, super violent online gaming, divisive religious beliefs, Bible and the Koran, and hateful left versus right political propaganda, toxic fast food, processed food, and recreational drugs, as well as excessively prescribed big pharma drugs. All of this, and I've just hit on a portion of it all, resulting in a shocking degree of sheep-like conformity and dumbed-down apathy like never before seen in history. Now, like I mentioned, one of the chapters in my book, Change, is devoted to this very topic of the existential artificial intelligence threat to humanity, due to the fact that those big tech Silicon Valley billionaires who are barging into the iceberg minefield with such irresponsible artificial intelligence technology are like impetuous toddlers. That's what they're like. They're like little toddlers playing with matches and not being parented, not being controlled by a responsible, moral-minded public. This is ironically because, as I said a minute ago, they and their Epstein-class corporate elite handlers have succeeded in getting most of humanity addicted to their big tech products that were designed from the jump for total societal surveillance and control. Now, as I detail in my book, Change, Elon Musk, who openly admits his number one goal is to merge humanity with artificial intelligence and create a human hive mind, even he also admits out of the other side of his mouth that artificial intelligence is an existential threat greater than thermonuclear weapons. Elon Musk himself is on record admitting that. So both in my book and on my cable television show here, like I said, that's heavily censored and shadow banned on YouTube and Rumble because of its truth to power content exposing this corruption, I've been showing my readers and viewers examples of this shameful, deadly AI technology being recklessly and irresponsibly created. And one such example being Dr. James Giordano. I did programming showing you, I showed you the actual clips of him. He's a DARPA, Department of Defense neuroscientist, speaking to a class of West Point cadets, openly telling them that the brain, are you ready for this? Openly telling them the brain is the battlefield of the future. Dr. Giordano goes into great detail, lecturing to the Army officer cadets at West Point how the new realm of warfare is to target the human brain with, get this, are you ready for this? Nanoparticle, meaning smaller than a molecule, deadly toxin delivering airborne robot drones. I'm going to say that again because it's a lot for you to grasp. He actually is talking to a class of West Point cadets, openly discussing this, and it's available to be found on YouTube. That's how I found it, and showed my audience, my television audience, this in I've showed it to you a couple of times in past episodes, and I believe I initially showed it to you during my Game of Genome series. So if you haven't seen that, similar to my Game of Drones series right now, I during COVID produced a series, multi-part series called Game of Genomes, and this is where I think I initially was showing you the clips. So make sure if you haven't seen that series, go and seek that out, and you can find that on Rumble. YouTube would never allow it. It's even though they are now allowing some things that have come to light, been proven true that I was telling you about, they're allowing some of that content now on YouTube. Nothing that I do will they allow, even though it's been proven true. Okay, so you have to go look for it on rumble.com, and that's my Game of Genomes multi-part series. Anyway, that's where I was showing these clips that I'm describing to you now. Dr. Giordano goes into great detail lecturing to this Army officer cadet class. The new realm of warfare is to target the human brain with nanoparticle, meaning smaller than a molecule, deadly toxin-delivering airborne robot drones that are capable of delivering deadly bacterial or virus payloads and gain-of-function viruses capable of targeting the DNA of a specific ethnicity or race. Now, the thing that shocked me is that you would think that that information would be at least somewhat classified and sensitive, but he was just completely out in the open. It was being recorded and posted up on YouTube for everyone to find. That's how, like I said, how I found it. Dr. Giordano also describes new developments in the ability to deploy untold numbers of different DEWs, DEWs as they call them, which stands for Directed Energy Weapons, from airborne autonomous drones that humans cannot outrun and most often can't see coming until it's too late. And what we see today is drone warfare primarily for the purpose of delivering explosives. That's what's taken over the theater of combat between Russia and Ukraine. Drones that are mainly capable of delivering bombs and explosives. Recently, Trump gave a press conference during which he revealed that over 7,000 troops were killed, all total on both sides of the Russian-Ukrainian war in just the past week alone. And that's not including the ever-rising toll of innocent civilians, and they are always casually referred to as merely collateral damage. So let me just say at this point, there is no excuse for such needless, ongoing hate and warmongering between Russians and Ukrainians, blowing each other up with drones and high-powered missiles. There's also no excuse for it between Israel, the U.S., and Iran in the Middle East, largely due to the Zionist agenda, which is Old Testament prophecy that's at the root of what Israel openly admits is their Greater Israel project. Their Greater Israel project. Just more and more brazenly admitted by Netanyahu and others in his genocidal administration. And let me just say, that is not being anti-Semitic. I love the Jewish people, total respect for them, and the vast majority of the Jewish people, as I understand it, realize what I'm saying is true, that Netanyahu has been out of control. The actions of the government under his command have been unconscionable to Gaza, to the Palestinians, to innocent men, women, and children that were killed unbelievable numbers. Just they did so much carpet bombing there. It just shocks the conscience. Complete genocidal behavior. And so, like I've told you before, Netanyahu is now facing arrest charges by the International Criminal Court for that genocide. It's been completely officially designated as genocidal actions and war crimes on his part. And so when I criticize it and call it genocide, that's not being anti-Semitic. These things I'm telling you are largely supported by many Jewish people who want him removed. Okay, now, it's critical that everyone listen to what I'm about to say. We must change direction now. There's no time to wait. There are very specific changes in how we think as a human race that must be made now. And one of those specific changes in how we think is that just like we realized decades ago that we had to call out racism wherever we encountered it, we must also now wake up and stop thinking that we can't do the same to the even more bigoted, fundamental, and divisive teachings of the Bible and the Koran. If you call yourself a Christian, or you call yourself a Jew, or you call yourself a Muslim, and you don't think that those beliefs fundamentally are bigoted and condemning and racist, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to your kids. You're lying to everyone, and you're a hypocrite. You need to go and read the Bible and the Koran honestly with an open mind, critical thinking mind, and understand you don't get to say you're the only correct religion and all others are infidels. You don't get to do that. That's even worse than someone who just thinks that they are superior to someone because of their race. At least someone who just thinks they're superior to someone because of their race, and that's where it ends, doesn't look at that person as condemned, doesn't have a teaching, a fundamental core teaching that says those other people that are different than you because they believe differently are worthy of being destroyed by God when Jesus returns, and is going to wipe everyone out who doesn't believe. All this crap, or that Israel thinks that they are the holy chosen race, superior above all others. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Islam teaches the same thing, that their Messiah is going to come. They have similar beliefs to Christianity, and that all others who aren't Muslims are going to be worthy of being destroyed and sent to hell for eternity. There's no excuse for you holding on to such beliefs and to teach such beliefs to your children. And one of the other huge problems with those teachings is that they teach their children the core belief of the Bible and the Koran, that you're evil and sinful by nature. Do you have any clue the harm and trauma you do to a child in their head when you teach them that shit? Talk about psychological abuse. And I grew up with it. And a large part of my book, Holy Libel, it's dedicated to my mom, and it's throughout the whole book I'm holding her accountable, which you'll see if you get a copy. Very effectively holding her accountable as I show her, using her own King James Bible, the undeniable proof of the lies and fraud and hypocrisy of the Bible, that it was written by bigoted men. Pretending that it was inspired by God, but it really was just their bigotry and the attempt of them to deify their culture, like I've talked to you about before, and control the masses for their agenda of world control. So we have to change direction now. We have to start realizing that we must, just like we hold people accountable who are racist, and we don't tolerate that, we have to wake up and see the bigotry of organized religion in the main, what I call the big three Abrahamic false faiths. And we have to start calling those people out for those beliefs, because that's what's standing in the way of bringing healing to humanity. It's enough already, okay? It's time for it to stop. And you guys wouldn't believe the resistance I'm running into, even from people who I thought were such good friends who would have my back, you know, who turn on me because they've been so conditioned by those false teachings, and then they find out that I'm raising awareness about how they're nothing but lies. You know, they behind the scenes will ghost me, turn on me, not have any more to do with me. It's a very, very difficult challenge when you're bringing the truth like this. And it's just shocking how much resistance you run into with people who are just completely blinded by those lies. And they don't want to think critically. They want to hold on to those bigoted beliefs, and they want to stiff-arm me because I'm trying to bring them the truth. So thank you, like I said earlier, to those of you who are stepping up and helping me get this message out, because I've told you, this is a ministry. It's not just entertainment that I'm doing. It's something I've been called to do, to bring this ministry of healing and correction. And I've been so blessed, due to the circumstances in my life, to have been shown the wisdom and understanding of where this healing comes from. And it's just, it's so frustrating, the amount of resistance I run into from people that I never would expect it from. So let me move on. Fundamental to each of the fraudulent big three faiths, Judeo-Christianity, so Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, is scripture all over the Bible and the Koran that quotes God routinely ordaining slavery. This is in both the Old and the New Testament, ordaining the oppression and second-class status of women, ordaining the damnation of gay people, ordaining the damnation and genocide of all infidels, or Gentiles, or non-believers, and ordaining remember this, the manifest destiny, the will of God for their imperial warmongering and ultimate conquering of the entire world. They feel like they believe they're called to do that. Like I said, that's part of the Israel's admitted Greater Israel Project. That the Holy Land that belongs to them is way beyond the parameters of where they currently are. And that's Zion. Okay? That's what Zionism is all about. It's not some offshoot of Judaism, like some people will lie to you and tell you. No, Zionism is Judaism. That's the teaching. The Jews are the chosen ones, and the Holy Land is Zion, and they're entitled to it. And it's way beyond the parameters of where they are right now, and they're trying to expand their borders because of those false Abrahamic beliefs of theirs. And we have to begin calling it out, and it doesn't make us anti-Semitic. Like I said, a huge number of Jews understand these things that I'm telling you. And they don't adhere to the false faith and religious aspect of being Jewish. There's two aspects to being Jewish. One is just the ethnic aspect, and then the other is the religious belief of the Old Testament. Many Jews don't accept the religious beliefs of the Old Testament and understand that it's not true, and that it was just lies by men trying to deify the culture. Many Jews understand that. So when we bring these things to light and trying to bring healing and recognize that all diversities are a part of what God is here in the physical. We are all the hands of God here in the physical. No one is the specific holy ones, the holy chosen race like Israel believes. Or that Muslims believe they are. So many Jews understand this, is what I'm saying. And so this is what we have to realize, is we're not being anti-Semitic when we call out the lies of the religious aspect of the Jewish culture. Now, continuing where I left off, these beliefs were designed saying that God was ordaining the conquering of the entire world, spelled out in their sick, here's the thing, self-fulfilling Armageddon prophecies. That's the danger of these things. The so-called end times are so, that what makes it so dangerous, people who have these beliefs, is that they can be self-fulfilling. If we don't start waking up and calling them out. There's no excuse that we have thousands of thermonuclear warheads pointed at each other. No excuse for it. When we are all one huge, divine family of brothers and sisters. Like I've told you, we have the wrong leaders. We have to replace the leaders that we have right now, these corrupt shills that are just doing the bidding of these corporate Epstein-class elites. We have to replace them with the right leaders who will bring the message that I'm teaching you here, and help heal humanity. And that way we can come together and fulfill our purpose. And you know what that purpose is? It's to learn to be the love and the healing of God that others need, to give it to each other, the golden rule. Not to look at others as beneath you and that you're superior to them and all this division created by those big three Abrahamic faiths. Okay? We have to fulfill our purpose. We have to get the right leaders. And we need more of, like I've told you before, we need more of a matriarchal, feminine strength leadership, instead of this warmongering testosterone legacy that we've seen over the past couple of thousand years or so. Now, unlike what happened on the Titanic, before we hit the deadly iceberg, I'm calling out the current captains of the ship for their incompetency and for their criminal corruption threatening our freedom, democracy, and survival. And like I mentioned a little earlier, a few minutes ago, largely due to my very unique life circumstances, my being transgender, of course, I have been very blessed with answers to relentless prayers of mine since I was a little child, in which I was asking, even back then as a little child, for the ability to bring real healing and a correct understanding of spiritual truth. Over the years, as a result of those lifelong relentless prayers, as I experienced painful and unique life challenges that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, I've been so thankful to have been blessed beyond belief with answers that I asked for, and to have been shown the correct change of course humanity has to make now. And I detail those critical changes regularly here on the Connie Bryan Show, and I spell them out plainly in both of my books, Holy Liable and Change. Humanity can be saved, but not saved by some imagined savior coming down on a white horse in the sky with an army of genocidal angels to fix everything for a chosen people, or a one true belief as defined by the big three Abrahamic false faiths of organized religion. Those man-made fraudulent religions are ironically at the root of exactly why humanity has shamefully reached such a bigoted, divisive, and warmongering precipice that AI is going to be used, to take to an all-new level of threat to enslave humanity. And it's like humanity is sleepwalking quickly toward a deadly mountain cliff. Our leaders are entirely controlled by Judeo-Christian Zionist Epstein-class billionaire elites, criminally corrupt, patriarchal, male-centric, warmongering elites with a legacy over the last few thousand years of just unbelievable oppression, unbelievable periods of genocide and creating wars. Just this, like I said, this warmongering, testosterone-driven mentality, claiming that it's the will of God and it's manifest destiny. Just think about the fruits of it, like I've told you before. What they did to Native Americans, what they did to African Americans, to Africans that they enslaved and brought here. And the Holocaust that happened to them, the Holocaust that happened to Native Americans, very similar to the Holocaust that happened to the Jews. There's no excuse for this. For you to continue to embrace Christianity and Judaism and Islam with this legacy of warmongering Holocaust behavior of all three of them, all claiming to be ordained by God. There are many specific healing changes and corrections we, the people, have to make as we rid the world from this age-old corrupt system that is rapidly wanting to develop all of these admitted deadly dystopian artificial intelligence weapons. Just checking on my time here. We're running out of time, so I'm going to have to wrap it up here. The specific reason they want to develop this existential threat of artificial intelligence and the weapon systems that they have in mind to use it with, and the ubiquitous surveillance systems, the specific reason is entirely for the purpose of totalitarian control of the masses. And the first major change we have to make is that we need to replace this corrupt patriarchal system with more healing matriarchal world leadership. All right, we're going to have to leave it there for now because we're out of time. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll talk to you then.
You were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, you know, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.